What's up, guys? Forecast9 here. Welcome back to Deck-sters Lab, the series where I will test out a couple different decks, see how they work and how I like them. A couple different builds. They're a little bit more experimental, not ready to fully commit, but they still are a lot of fun to play with. So on this episode, we're rocking with Therion Cyber Dragons featuring Clockwork Night. So Cyber Dragon has had a little bit of a rough time recently. Of course, when Master Rule 5 came out, we got Verte Anaconda. That was super needed for Cyber Dragons, not only helping them OTK, but then when Dragoon and DPE came out, that also gave them access to like a going first play, where they could make Dragoon or DPE alongside Cyber Dragon Infinity, and it was just a super important card, and then it was banned out. Now granted, it's a super broken card, so it totally deserved the ban, but it's kind of left Cyber Dragon in a weird spot right now where it's pretty weak. There are a couple different variants running around. There's a Therion version running around right now, as well as like traps and like Cyber Darks and a couple different versions. But in an upcoming set, we will be getting an anime card called Clockwork Night. So this card originated from the Virtual World arc of the original Duel Monsters anime, played by Nesbit. This card is basically DNA transplant, but in a spell card. So it basically turns all your opponent's monsters into machines, and then machines you control gain 500 attack points, and your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack points. Now this is pretty important, because Cyber Dragon has a card called Chimeritic Fortress Dragon. So if all of your opponent's monsters are machines, from Clockwork Night, then you can just contact fuse their pretty much entire board for Chimeritic Fortress Dragon. So it's a great going second tool to help clear a board. It's also a pretty decent going first tool, as it does turn your opponent's monsters into machines. Sometimes that can mess up your opponent's deck and their plays, depending on the kind of deck that they're playing. But there's one last effect that Clockwork Night has that is especially relevant with this particular build. So when Clockwork Night is in the graveyard, you can discard one other card to search an Earth Machine monster from your deck. Now, there's a very good Earth Machine monster that we can search called Therion King Regulus. So it basically forces your opponent to negate Clockwork Night or pop it somehow so they don't get their entire board fortressed. And when they do, you basically get a free search on Therion King Regulus, which is not only a big body, but he also acts as a negate as well. So this really ties the whole deck together. As you can see, we've cut a lot of the hand traps and gone for pretty much a going second blowout, wipe their board type of playstyle, with the Dark Ruler no mores, the Clockwork Knights, the Super Polys, although we do still have the Imprims in here as well. For the Therions, we're playing the 3 Regulus as well as the 2 Field Spell. And then the rest of the Cyber Dragon package is pretty standard, with the Jizukir, the 3 OG Cyber Dragons, 2 Galaxy Soldier, 3 Core, 2 Nectar, 3 Hers, 3 Emergency, 1 Repair Plant to search either Jizukir or Galaxy Soldier, the dupe, and then I'm also playing Cyberload Fusion as just a one of, because it's searchable with Core. So if you really want to OTK your opponent, you're in the opportunity to, you can just get out a quick Rampage Dragon and OTK them. And then of course the Overflow, which is a nice search target as well, off of the Core. If you already kind of set up, you're just looking for some extra control tools. Our extra deck is of course 2 Mega Fleet. That's pretty standard for all Cyber Dragon builds. However, with Clockwork Night, I'm playing not 1 but 2 Fortress Dragons. This card is super amazing. As I said, it just makes Clockwork Night a board clear basically that also puts a big body on your field. We are playing Super Polymerization, so that means we're playing Dragostapelia, we're playing Garura, which is the new card from Power of the Elements, which kind of breaks Super Poly. It's the reason Super Poly is pretty expensive right now. And then we're playing the Mud Dragon of the Swamp as well for Super Polymerization. Of course, we're playing the 1 Rampage, only the 1 Rampage because we only have 1 fusion spell that we're going to be using for it. Then for the XEs, we have 1 Nova, 2 Infinity. This may look kind of weird, but Naxter can actually revive the Nova if we need it. So we can actually slap another Cyber Dragon Infinity on top of just this 1 Nova. Then of course we're playing Dingirsu, because not only is Therion King Regulus level 8, but so is Fortress Dragon. So if you want to make a Zeus or a Dingirsu, you can just overlay a Regulus and a Chimeritic Fortress Dragon into a Dingirsu. And of course we're playing Zeus, it's just a great card. And then Cyber Dragon Seeger, I mean it's just a good link too, it helps you bump up your monsters, nothing much to say. And then Salaman Great Almirage is the most important link in this entire deck. Some other Cyber Dragon decks will play like Link Haribo or Anima alongside the Almirage. But in this build, all you really need is the Almirage. It's basically used to get core in the graveyard, so it makes your Cyber Repair Plant live and Regulus live and things like that. It's pretty much all you need. So that's it for the deck profile. It's pretty simple. It's not too far from a standard Cyber Dragon list. We're just playing some extra spice with the Clockwork Night and the Therions for that added synergy. So without further ado, let's get into the replays and see what it can do. Alright guys, welcome to game 1, and I'm going to be honest, this one kind of counts as bullying. So our opponent is playing Agnister, and if you know anything about the Cyber Dragon vs. Agnister matchup, this is pretty much as free as it gets. I wasn't originally going to show this one, but it's just so funny, just the matchup itself. It's like so one-sided that I just wanted to show this replay off. There's no Therion, no Clockwork Night shenanigans. Just good old Cyber Dragon versus Agnisters. So, I don't have any hand traps, just have 2 Cyber Dragons, machine dupes, which are completely dead in the Dark World no more. So, we can't really stop him from going off on his combo. So, he's just going to do his thing. Send the Denmari, do all the Agnister stuff. I'm not going to pretend, to know exactly how these work. I just know they like to end on their big 6k at arrival. So, he'll do that. He'll summon a Ghost Spell, then he'll end on his big 6k arrival Cyberse, which unfortunately is a prime target for our special summon Cyber Dragon. So who would win in a fight? This unbeatable 6k Towers, or literally a card from 2005? So all we can do is really just Mega Fleet and pass, and we'll set the Imperm that we drew off the top and let our opponent go. I don't really know what he's going to do from here. I think he's probably going to try like Access Code Talker me with like a Trans Code Talker or a Splash Mage type thing. So I do have the Imperm ready for that. So I'll just let him go off on his combo. He goes into his Light Dragon Agnister instead, and then he AI Reborns on his Wind Pegasus. And I will, at this point, I will, because the Pegasus is popping the Agnister, is popping the Imperm. I will negate the Agnister, so he doesn't get more card advantage through his Light Dragon. And then he goes to a Splash Mage, and then he goes into Transcode, which will get back the Splash Mage, which will get back that, and then he'll go into a Dark Fluid, again in the extra monster zone, which unfortunately for him means that I can just summon a Cyber Dragon and just link it off for Contact Fuse for that second Mega Fleet. And then we have the Therion, and he will call by the grave the Cyber Dragon, but we still get the Therion special summon, we just don't get the attachment, you don't get the equipped monster, so we don't have a negate. So we just hit him in the face really hard. And we can't quite kill him here. He's at 400 life points. I'm kind of nervous because we're out of Mega Fleets at this point. I only run 2 Mega Fleets. None of these cards will do anything. I would need like something good off the top. So he will draw, and then he just surrenders. So that's game 1, I guess. I mean, it's not really a fair matchup. The next couple ones should be a little bit more interesting. I just wanted to show off this matchup in particular. It's just kind of funny. Sorry, don't report me for bullying or harassment. It's just a real fun matchup for a Cyber Dragon player. It's one of the few good matchups that we have no matter what. So that's it for this game. Let's get into the other replays. Maybe we can show off some of the other cards. Alright guys, welcome to game 2. As we draw our hand here, it's pretty good. We have an Imperm, we have Super Poly, and we have a Core and Hers, as well as the Cybernetic Overflow. So I'm feeling pretty good about this hand. We'll see what our opponent is playing. Ends up being Runicks. I'm not quite sure what they do. They just do a lot of quick play spell cards. He summons a monster in the extra monster zone, which you'll see is a habit of opponents that maybe works in our favor. So he'll get a continuous spell, which ends up being something that like mills us basically. So he's milled us with the Cyber Dragon, milled a Clockwork Knight and the Colosseum. Then he'll just get some card draw, mill some more, and this time he mills us the Cyber Dragon Core. And then he'll, just pass on that. We have a pretty good board to kind of, I don't say break this, but I want to get rid of this field spell and this continuous spell because I don't want to get, banished and milled out too much. So I want to try to go for a Rampage. So we're going to do that. We're going to search the Cyberload Fusion because our opponent so nicely filled up our banished pile with 2 Cyber Dragons that we can use for that Rampage. So we're going to Mega Fleet off his monster first. Then we're going to Cyberload Fusion into the Rampage. Rampage is going to pop his 2 cards. He's going to get some more banishes off though, using some more quick play spells from hand, and and sending another monster in the extra monster zone. These guys do not learn. But with Rampage, we will send a OG Cyber Dragon and a core, because we do have a Naxter in hand. So that means we can just Naxter, summon this Cyber Dragon right back, and then with the Cyber Dragon and the Rampage, we can go into an Cyber Dragon Nova, and then we're going to Mega Fleet him again, so he doesn't get his little floating effect, and we're going to go right into a Cyber Dragon Infinity. And because he had activated 1 Day of Peace, we can't really do anything to him in terms of like killing him, but we do have a Cyber Dragon Infinity, we have a Super Poly, we have an Imperm, and a Cybernetic Overflow, as well as a Dark Ruler No More and a core ready to go for next turn. So I feel pretty confident about what we can do. So he's going to activate the Afterburner to try to pop the Infinity. We're just going to negate that with the Infinity, and then our opponent is just going to scoop. So not quite sure what Runick can do, if this is the best they have, and it doesn't seem that great. But I do thank my opponent for setting up my Cyber Load Fusion like that. It was very kind of him. That's it for game 2. Yeah, it was kind of a funny game, showing off these Runicks and what Cyber Load Fusion can do against them, I guess. So let's get into some other replays. Alright guys, welcome to the next replay. Here we have a pretty great hand with a Hers. We have 2 Clockwork Nights, although it's only once per turn, so the second one doesn't really matter. We have a Therion field spell, so see if we can maybe negate a hand trap. But we have a hard drawn Regulus as well, so we're looking pretty good for going second hand. Our opponent will summon Fallen of Albaz, set 2, and pass. And that means like one of these has to be a Super Poly, right? Like there's no reason you would do this if one of these wasn't a Super Poly. We do have ways we can play around things, so let's get started. So first things first, we're going to use the field spell to search a Therion, maybe bait a Ash Blossom if that's what's in his hand, which he does not have. So we get our Therion search. Then we're going to summon Hers. Yep, he reveals he does in fact have the Super Poly. He's going to go into the Albion, and then use Branded in Red, and go into Dragos Depelia. And then he's going to go his Dramaturus and summon that back. And now he kind of has no more negates, nothing else that he can do, which means we're pretty much free to dismantle his board. So with the Hers, we were able to search the Cyber Dragon, which means we can summon it since we don't have any other monsters on the field right now, and our opponent does have monsters. We can just use this normal effect to summon itself. And then we're going to Clockwork Night. Our opponent doesn't really have any response, which lets us get this big 3.5k Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. And then it lets us get the Therion King Regulus as well to equip the Hers. And then we just win, and our opponent will just scoop from there. So yeah, that's this game. Pretty nice to have both the Regulus and the Clockwork Night. You can see it's really putting in some work. So yeah, that's it. Let's get into some other games. Alright guys, welcome to the next game. Our hand is pretty great with the core, the dupe, the overflow. Our opponent's going to do a thing, going to activate a card that we can negate with Ash Blossom, so we're just going to do right that. They're going to set 1 and pass, and we draw the Therion field spell off the top, which is just fantastic. So we're going to core. He is going to Needlebug Nest, not, mill anything important. Then we're going to Machine Dupe, get our 2 Cyber Dragons. We're going to Almirage so that our Therion is now live, and so is our Nova. And then we're going to Nova, summon back a Cyber Dragon. Then we're going to get the Therion. We're going to summon the Therion. And unless he has anything to stop this, this is a game. So we're going to attack with the Therion. We're going to attack with the Cyber Dragon. Then we're going to attack with the Nova, but then we're going to activate the Nova's effect to banish the Cyber Dragon to buff its attack, and that is lethal. So pretty unconventional OTK, but it is something cool that Cyber Dragons can do. A lot of people tend to forget about Nova's attack boosting effect, which can be nice in situations like this. So that's that replay. Let's get into another one. Alright guys, here's another replay for you. And this hand is pretty great. And the good thing about this deck is that I don't really care what my opponent does. So I just let them play, have no hand traps, so I don't have to worry about where I'm going to hand trap or try to stop them. I'm just going to let them do their thing and then deal with their board after the fact. So they're going to do some stuff with Ghostricks and Parallel Exceed. They're going to go into another Angel of Mischief. And then they're going to do the whole thing with F-Zero into Utopic Future. However, our opponent's board has one very fatal flaw. They do not have a Spell or Trap Negate on the field. So we're going to Cyber Emergency for a Cyber Dragon. Then we're going to summon that Cyber Dragon. Then we're going to Clockwork Night. Then we're going to Mega Fleet, they're going to Fortress their entire field. And that's that game. Our opponent just scoops. So, yeah, Clockwork Night is a hell of a card. If your opponent doesn't end with a spell or trap negate, then it doesn't matter what their board is. You can just contact fuse it off entirely. And of course, as you can see, we still had plays to make with the core and the Therion King Regulus as well. So yeah, that's that game. Let's get into another one. Alright guys, welcome to our final game. Looking pretty good. We got the Dark Ruler no more, we got the Regulus, we have a couple of Cyber Dragon names as well as a Machine Duplication. It's very hard to sculpt a better hand than this. So our opponent is playing Prediction Princess. I'm just going to let them do their thing. There's so much Ritual Monsters, flip some stuff, search some stuff, set a pig. We're going to go into a Barone in the extra monster zone. Thank you very much. So he's going to do a thing where he flips this, which gets him a Transcicada, or it's not a Transcicada, sorry, Sonic Jammer. Then it lets him flip it up, which basically acts as an Imperial Order. We can't activate spells, which sucks because it turns off half of our hand. However, we do have a Regulus in hand that does not care, and he has a Barone in the extra monster zone, right for the taking. So we're just going to Mega Fleet off that Barone, then we're just going to summon Regulus, and our opponent will scoop. And that's the last replay that I have for you guys today. I know there were, the most competitive games. Everything was over pretty fast once we kind of contact fused our opponent's entire board off every time. But that's pretty much what this Cyber Dragon deck does. It's a lot of fun to play. I think it's pretty solid. There's a lot to look forward to with Clockwork Night and this Therion combination. Certainly what I'll be messing around with when we finally do get the Clockwork Night here in the TCG. Well, that's pretty much it. Until next time, guys, like, subscribe, do all the usual YouTube stuff, and I'll see you later.